This is 87. Welcome to the Average Nobody's Podcast, number 87 for, May 26th. We've been doing this for a while now.
You really need to look up the date before we start.
I need to, May 26th, 2020, the year from hell. Yeah, let's get right into it here. I feel like this is going to be a little bit longer episode than normal because I have a lot to talk about our movie club. And I would love to, there's been a revelation with Interstellar that we'll talk about as well. So if you can remember, Ryan did not like Interstellar going into this last week's movie club submission. So just remember that. All right, so what have we been watching? I'll go first. So this week we had to watch Man of Steel because last week, if you remember, we were talking about how we had to, Scott Snyder did his watch along with Man of Steel and had Henry Cavill join up, and he announced the Snyder Cut and all that. So we had Man of Steel on the docket to watch, but I watched that, and then I also watched Batman v Superman, and then I also watched Justice League, and I had a fantastic time doing it. And I do not regret blowing 5-6 hours yesterday doing that, watching extended cuts of both.
Do you mean the Justice League?
The Justice League. Is that what they're calling it now?
I've heard it called that before.
Is that because of Josh Whedon?
Yes,
Whedon?
Exactly.
Hey, see?
You're catching on. So Batman v Superman is just as good as I remember it. Maybe better every time I watch it. Ben Affleck is the best Batman that we could ever ask for. And
better than Christian Bale?
Yes. Here's the thing with Christian Bale. The Christian Bale Batman movies are so good, especially Dark Knight.
Almost like in spite of him?
I mean, not in spite of him, but, I mean, Heath Ledger is the big story from... You know what I mean? Like
the villains take it to the next level. How good is Tom Hardy as Bane in Dark Knight Rises? You know what I mean? Like, the villains take it to the next level for Christian Bale.
Yes.
Yeah. So we're not hating on Christian Bale. Like, we love those movies.
I never finished Batman vs Superman.
You idiot.
How is Justin? Maybe we'll have you watch that. It's so good. There's so many good... Ben Affleck's Batman is the most comic book Batman that we have gotten, I think, in any movie. I think Adam would agree with me. It's like straight off the pages of Frank Miller, which Frank Miller wrote one of the most legendary runs of Batman comics, The Dark Knight, Dark Knight Returns, or Dark Knight Strikes Again. It jumps right off the page. I mean, to the point where I remember rereading The Dark Knight, Frank Miller's book, and you can pull out frames, frame for frame, reshots, they remade the shots from the comic book in the movie. And it's straight from it. The way he fights, all of that is all straight from the comic. He's very it's very cartoonish. So it was awesome.
If you do watch it, you should watch the Ultimate Edition because it fills in some plot holes that
correct.
It's like 20 minutes longer, but it fills in some plot holes that keyboard warriors out there were bitching about.
Keyboard bitch ass warriors. It's so good. Yesterday too on Twitter, I try not to get in too deep with it, but the biggest gripe with Batman v Superman that people seem to have now, at the time they had a lot of issues with Ben Affleck and all that bullshit, which is all I think just knee jerk reaction, hey, I want to fucking oppose this movie just because I fucking can. But the big thing was the Martha, the mom's name between Clark's mom is Martha and Bruce Wayne's mom is also Martha, and that's kind of the common ground that they find, and why, the only reason why Superman survives Batman, because Batman had him. He had him. Mm-hmm. Superman was dead. So Lois Lane had to let him know that Martha was also Clark's mom. People have an issue with that. It's not really a hang up for me. You know why?
No.
Because it's so fucking badass up until that moment, and then you literally have that moment. Say what you will about it. You find it being an issue, fine. You don't, fine. But then a second later, they're fighting Doomsday. Literally a second later, you jump into one of the most the biggest villains in Batman Superman history, and you're fighting him alongside Wonder Woman, who take it as you will, like how they handled the trailer by showing Wonder Woman in it. But you have Wonder Woman now for the first time in these movies, and Gal Gadot is fucking pitch perfect as Wonder Woman. Mm-hmm. And you fucking still hung up on the Martha thing? Like, it has nothing to do with that. Like, you knew that they weren't going to... Like, Batman was not going to kill Superman. That's not what this is about. You know that wasn't going to happen. I don't know.
I know. It's such a small piece of the movie that everybody,
it's
was
so...
bitching about. Like, what in that situation, what else could have stopped Batman from killing Superman?
Right.
Nothing.
Right. People say that there's like different ways that could have handled the way he said it, and then I'm like, so you're fine with it being that their moms are the same name, like, or you just say, you have to go save my mom, and Bruce Wayne kind of relates to it. But honestly, like, the two Martha things was kind of like in the moment I was like, oh shit, like that is very true. I didn't recognize that until like that moment. Like, you don't realize it until he says it, and I thought that was kind of cool. And then of course you're fucking Doomsday a second later, so take it how you will. Watch Justice League again as well, and I don't know, I think that this is something I picked out from it, Adam, and I want to see if you Ryan, did you see Justice League?
No. Okay,
so this is something you wouldn't pick out, but I highly suggest you watch it anyway, just to get kind of like the feeling, especially before the Snyder Cut comes out. All the reshoots that have to do with Superman have his mustache digitally removed because he was in Mission Impossible, right?
Right.
So any spot where you see a kind of fucked up upper lip with Henry Cavill with Supes, it's a fucking reshoot. I'm watching that final fight scene with Steppenwolf. Every single scene with Superman is a fucked up mustache scene.
Matt, to be honest with you, I can't. It's tough to pick out the scenes where he doesn't have the fucked up face.
So, and that's like, another thing too. Like, what the? So this, I'm watching it again, and in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, what is Scott Snyder's Justice League looks like? How much original footage, does he actually have? He must have a fuckload, because he was almost done too, right? When he went away.
Yeah. So I correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that Zack Snyder said that only about a quarter of what he did was in the final cut of what we saw.
Yes, that's exactly what he said. Yep.
He had a quarter of that movie was his stuff. So 30 minutes, because the movie's 2 hours long. And I vaguely remember hearing that he had 4 hours of footage. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's so...
He shot
a
ton of stuff.
I could not see...
He shot motion capture for Darkseid. That actor,
yes.
He said that he did voiceover and motion capture for Darkseid.
That's super exciting.
That doesn't exist in the one we saw.
I know, not at all. Not at all. Nothing. That's exciting. So watching all that and seeing all the fucking blunders with the way they fucked up that CGI for his fucking face, it kills me. Now that it makes me feel better, because I know that we're getting the cut without all that. Hopefully, with most of it without all that. So great. And also, me and you have been just shooting fucking rumors back and forth at each other all week about shit. Is there more Batman movies coming? Is the DCEU saved? Is AT&T gonna come in, swoop in, and fucking drop all the money on continuing Scott Snyder's vision? I hope so.
Right. Even so I started following David Ayer on Twitter, who's the director of Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
And he said that same deal, what we saw in theaters was not what he filmed, and that it wouldn't take much for him to finish what he started.
It has to be so frustrating to work on something like that, and then for it to be butchered and torn apart and put back together like Frankenstein's monster at the end of all of it.
Right, because all that stuff is everything they film is it's done on purpose. You can't just pull pieces apart and make a new story out of it. That doesn't work, And to me, as a big studio, if I were a big studio executive, even at that, how does that make sense to you? How does that make sense to you? You spent all of this money to bring in this director with a vision, and then you slash it to ribbons and try to Frankenstein it back together. and expect to still make money off of it. Like,
yeah,
it doesn't work like that.
Yep, it's terrible. It's awful. I saw just before we started recording, and I won't get into it because I don't know the details on it, but check it out. Someone retweeted in my timeline. It might be Andre from Backseat Directors. He retweeted this thread about this person I think that worked on The Hobbit, and essentially saying that the same thing that happened to Ayers and happened to Snyder also happened to Peter Jackson with The Hobbit. Like a lot of creative control, like with the love triangle with Evangeline Lilly and all that wasn't originally in any of it. It was added in after and all this shit. So I didn't read the whole thread, but that's out there if you want to check that out. That's another one of those things where creative control was snatched away and the movie was jumbled up a bit.
So her character doesn't exist.
Right, in the books, right? It doesn't exist. Yeah, and I guess that Peter Jackson was going forward with sticking true to the Hobbit book and not including that character that doesn't exist. But I guess he got overruled, even though he fucking made a masterpiece trilogy right before that. Whatever. That's crazy to me. But AT&T seems to be on the right side of history here. They're really playing along with the fans, throwing out Batman gifts. I love to see it.
Yep.
The other thing I've been watching is Shameless. And have either of you guys watched Shameless?
I've seen like the first 5 or 6 seasons.
I think it's season 9 right now.
I haven't watched it in a while. I liked it.
I'm going to say this in the nicest... I did too. I'm going to say this in the nicest way possible. Enough is enough. Like, it's the same shit over and over again. It's like, I don't know how many times I can see, like, this repeating storylines and this person's a drunk and then this happens and they're poor and then they hate the yuppies that are moving into their town and they're from the south side and we have... I'm done with it. It's ran its course. It needs to end. I love that show. And it's just, I don't know. It's just like I don't care about what's going on in it anymore. It's all the same thing. I can almost predict what's going to happen. So that's it for me. That's
too long for a show like that.
It had the right idea early on, and then it lost itself. It's like there's a ton of stuff that I just don't care about anymore.
It's the same thing. The main actress not in it anymore too? Like the main girl?
No, she is. Well, I mean, here's the thing. I'm watching season 9 on Netflix. I don't know what's current. And I don't know what's new, and if she's not on it anymore, then that's whatever. But right now she is. Ryan, what's her name? Fiona?
Emmy Rossum.
Yes, Emmy Rossum. She is.
Fiona.
Well, Fiona.
Her name.
That's her
her name is Shameless.
She's married to the guy who did Mr. Robot.
Is she?
Oh, Sam Esmail?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. She has it's really funny because she has I think in an episode 1, and that actually leads me into what I've been watching this week.
Go for it.
So I finally finished Mr. Robot, and just to connect Emmy Rossum to it, she is in Mr. Robot season 4. I don't know, one of the first episodes for a second. You know what I mean? She's just a Christmas caroler. I was like, oh shit, is she gonna be in this show this season? So I went to her IMDb page, and nope, just that one episode. That's it. She's just a Christmas caroler. So I finished Mr. Robot, and it was fucking awesome. I can't recommend it enough. I thought the show went off the rails, in the middle of the season where they, had a huge revelation about Elliot's character, and I was wrong because there's another even bigger one that they saved for last. So I can't recommend it enough. Rami Malek is so good, so good in this role.
That's awesome.
And so the supporting cast too, Christian Slater and I don't know her name, but the girl who plays his sister, and the actor that plays Tyrell, even the actor that plays the head of Evil Corp. Everyone plays their role so well. Mm-hmm. I can't recommend it enough. So I'm very happy I got to finish it.
Very good. Very good.
So also at your guys' recommendation today, I started watching Dave on FX.
Yeah.
I got through the first 3 episodes, and I'm gonna catch some flack here. I thought it was funny, but I wasn't rolling around laughing. You know what I mean?
Really?
A couple of parts. Dave is the least funny person on it. Everybody else is okay.
I disagree.
I don't think that Dave is the least funniest, but I also think that his humor hits me the right way. But I also think that his humor could completely fall flat on other people. Like the way he delivers all of his jokes can completely fall flat. I laugh more at his friend Els who's Taco from Odd Future and Gata. I fucking love Gata. Gata is fucking hilarious. Gata is so
Gata is funny. Gata is the first 3 episodes. I'm gonna I don't know how many episodes there are.
His best friend, the redhead.
Yep.
You warm up to him. At first, he's a total you don't like him, total flat, but you really warm up to him. So I'll say that.
And it's not like a straight up sitcom either. It's actually just like a well done show.
I get what you're saying though, Adam. I definitely do see where you're coming from, and I can respect that. But finish it off and then come back talk to us.
I will. Okay. Not to say I don't hate it. You know what I mean?
It's
just it's not. It wasn't what I expected. So I'm gonna keep it on my mind and I'll finish it.
Okay.
And I was bitching about this to you last night. I'm continuing watching Riverdale, and I loved this show. The first 2 seasons were so good, and the 3rd season was pretty good too. And so season 4 finally hit Netflix. I'm fucking pumped to watch it, right? And it's I find myself on my phone the whole time. It's not grabbing me. It's just ridiculous. It's run its course for them being in high school. They've been in high school. I think they spent 2.5 seasons as juniors in high school. Come on. Let's advance the plot. Everyone's so much older, and they don't even act like they're in high school anymore. A very small fraction of the show has to do with them being in school. The rest of it is, this girl's supposed to be 18 years old, Veronica. She's 18 years old. She owns a diner, a secret speakeasy underneath, and she's also starting a rum business to rival her father, who is the leader of a crime family, has gotten out of prison for murder, and runs the town. He's running for mayor now.
Yes.
Also, the guy who plays the sheriff is another character's dad. So Jughead Jones, his father, is Sheriff Jones. In season 1, Sheriff Jones was arrested for accessory to murder, and he is the sheriff in the town now. So it's it's all over the place. You know what I mean? I need them to bring it back in. I need them to bring it back in because they're losing me right now. I'm not going to give up on them just yet, but I do like the idea that. So they've announced that season 5 there'll be a significant time jump, which I can get behind. So I'm gonna keep going with it, but it's losing me a little bit.
Maybe they'll be senior citizens.
Maybe.
Hey, all the characters in that show have lived 1,000 lives.
It's like
they really have.
Honestly,
really have. No one's ever really dead.
No.
Yeah. Let's see here. So I watched. I'll do them with these quick. So I watched El Camino finally. Yeah. So the first episode of season 4 was a big tribute to Luke Perry, and it was very well done. It was good. I finally watched El Camino, the Breaking Bad movie. I really liked it. It was just a long episode of Breaking Bad. There were parts where it dragged a little bit, but. I really liked how they threw in the flashbacks to Jesse, being a prisoner. And then, that final showdown scene where the Wild West, where they drew on each other. Have you guys seen this, actually?
Yeah, I've seen it.
Oh, okay. The final scene, where they drew on each other, that was awesome. I did not see that coming. It was so, intense. I loved that. I watched The Witch. So Robert Eggers, The Witch. It's the same director as The Lighthouse, Ryan. So if you're interested in another one of his movies, it's called The Witch. It's on Netflix. Hour and a half. I thought that was pretty good. It was this end, it got super creepy because I was explaining it to Jen. And so basically it's this family. It's in the olden days. They just colonized, they're colonizing America days. So the English come over, and this family, everyone's it's a big God-fearing community. And so if you do something wrong, you're the devil. And this whole family, they have different beliefs than the colony that they're in, so they leave or they get, exiled or whatever. And so it's just them. It's a mom and dad, from oldest to youngest, daughter, son, twins, boy and girl, and then an infant baby. And so they have all these farm animals. And so the infant baby gets taken, and they don't know by what. And so that's how it starts the whole story. And the mother is blaming the oldest daughter, calling her a witch, and everybody's pointing fingers at her that she's a witch. Meanwhile, the two twins are talking to, and they say it talks back to them, a black horned goat, like the sign of the devil. You know what I mean? And like, so you're pointing fingers at her, but there's something really creepy going on over here, and you're not acknowledging. You think like such a God-fearing family, they would try to avoid having that. And so like the big payoff. I won't ruin it for you, Ryan, but there's a payoff at the end it's pretty satisfying.
What's the goat's name?
Black Phillip. Like the two twins, Ryan,
right.
they sing a song about Black Phillip. This happens like the first 20 minutes. They sing a song to like, I don't know, maybe they're 5 years old, 6 years old, that they made up about Black Phillip being their leader, Black Phillip being the strongest. Follow him. He'll protect you. Like red flag after
It's so
red
good
flag.
though. It's so good though.
It is. It's like a children's song, but like I had the closed captions on so you like really see the lyrics. You're like, oh man, someone should be watching these too.
Yeah, it's fucked up.
And finally, I saved this one for last because I watched The King on Netflix, starring our boy Timothée Chalamet, and I really liked it. It was like 2 hours change, and it was like very Game of Thronesy for me, but with a good, a payoff at the end. It was an ending that was satisfying to see. But there was all like, a leader who didn't want to be a leader but was forced, had to step up, and betrayals and battles, and it was really well done. I suggest watching it. It's 2 hours and change, but it flew by. I thought it was really well done. So Timothée Chalamet is awesome. Joel Edgerton is in it too. He's really good. And I think Timothée Chalamet is like in his mid-20s. He'll win 2 or 3 Oscars, in his time as an actor. He's really good. A really good actor. And that's what I've been watching this week.
Nice. What about you?
I like Timothy. I like Timothy.
Quite the
Chalamet.
range.
He's good.
Does have a range.
So I watched a couple movies actually yesterday. I watched The Lovebirds on Netflix with Issa Rae and Kumail Nanjiani, or whatever the fuck you say his name.
I put that on my list to watch.
Yeah, it was funny. It was good. I would definitely recommend. It was quick, like hour and a half. They don't have great chemistry together, like as far as being boyfriend and girlfriend, but they were both pretty funny. There was some good one-liners in there. And it's on Netflix. Like, it's an easy watch. I thought it was pretty funny. And then I watched Hotel Artemis, which was on Amazon Prime, and it's like included with Prime, so you don't have to pay to rent it or buy it. Very good. I know Adam, you haven't, but Matt, have you seen Bad Times at the El Royale?
No, that's the one with the ensemble, right? The ensemble cast.
Yeah.
No.
So it's kind of similar. Actually, very similar. It's like a dark. It's not a comedy. It's like there's some comedic elements to it, but it's more of like a thriller.
Wait, is Batista in this one?
Yeah. So it's Jodie Foster, Batista, Sterling K. Brown, Jeff Goldblum. Who else is? Jenny Slate is in it. Forgot the guy. He's in Atlanta. I forgot his name. Obviously not Donald Glover. The other guy from Atlanta is in it.
Danny Glover.
Yes, Danny Glover. It was really good though. It was like there was like a lot of twists and turns, and the premise is Jodie Foster runs this hospital called the Hotel Artemis for criminals. So like something happens, like they're doing like a bank robbery and it goes wrong. They call Jodie Foster and they pay this membership to be able to get admitted into the Hotel Artemis whenever they want, and she takes care of them. And then there's all these like backstories of like how the hotel gets funded. It's funded by like this huge like mob kingpin, and then it's like Charlie Day. That's who Charlie Day is really good in it. He plays this like dickhead arms dealer, like totally against type, but he pulls it off. But like a really good ensemble. I would definitely recommend it. And it's free on Amazon if you have Prime. And then in documentary world, I watched HBO just came out with a documentary on Natalie Wood, who was an actress in she was like a child actress in the 40s, and then throughout the 50s, 60s, 70s, and then she like tragically passed away in 1981, where she drowned. And it was really really good look at like her career. Didn't realize like how many huge movies she was in. Like she was one of like the main child actors in Miracle on 34th Street, and she was in West Side Story. And then I don't know, are you guys familiar with her story?
No, I don't. I don't really know much about anything about her.
So yeah, so she was an actress, and she married Robert Wagner. Do you know him, the actor?
Yes.
So they were married, and they lived in California. And then 1980, they would always take out they had this like little mini yacht, and they would take it out all the time. And like Thanksgiving weekend, 1981, they took it out, and it was him, Robert Wagner, Christopher Walken, and Natalie Wood, and they like took it out, and she just like drowned. And
really?
It was like, yeah, like mysterious circumstances, and like her toxicology report was that she was like super drunk, but like people have always thought that like there was like a love triangle between Robert Wagner and Christopher Walken and Natalie Wood, and like they got into an argument, she hit her head, and then they like dumped her in the ocean. So it's like this whole big thing, but it was done, her daughter is the one who did it. Like she produced it, and she was kind of the narrator. So it was told from her side of things, which I kind of liked because it kind of stayed away from the conspiracy theories and just was basically just what we know. And it was just like an accident. But a really, really interesting story, like on her life. I would recommend it if you gotta like documentaries. But
am I thinking of the right Robert Wagner? He was in Austin Powers.
Yes,
he's number 2.
He's
right?
number 2. Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. And then obviously Christopher Walken.
That's where I know him from.
I was gonna say,
yeah.
I was like, I don't know any of his other movies, and I'm like, I definitely know him from something.
So he was like a huge actor in like the 50s and 60s. So unless you like are familiar with, I didn't know, like they were showing all the movies that he was in, but I had never seen any of them. But I guess they were big at the time. And then yeah, like after that happened, like I think he just kind of stayed away from the spotlight until for some reason Austin Powers got him back in the set. Yeah,
that's cool. I'll check that out.
Yeah,
would you say that was on?
Interesting. HBO.
Okay, I love HBO documentaries. Fuck yeah.
Yeah, and then so The Last Dance, which was the Michael Jordan documentary on ESPN, is over. All 10 parts are done, but now they're releasing 3 30 for 30s, like back to back to back to back. So the first one was on Lance Armstrong, and part 1 was Sunday, and it's very fascinating because it's told from his perspective, but he's very honest because he kind of has to be,
right.
But he is just such like a douchebag. I never really listened to interviews about him, but he's just like he just doesn't care. And the first part talks about like his childhood, his upbringing, and then his like his first part, basically like right around when he got testicular cancer.
Okay.
But yeah, he's just like, yeah, I started like taking performance enhancing drugs at 21, which was like in like 93 or 94, and like everyone did it in cycling. So I feel like he kind of gets wrongfully vilified in a way because everyone did it. And they interviewed like all his former teammates, all these former like world-class cyclists, and they all said like you can't do the Tour de France unless you're on, like the human body can't physically do it naturally.
So did he like turn into the fall guy, like kind of how like Mark McGwire and those guys like turn into the fall guy for baseball?
And he was just a dick, and he didn't care. So I think he was like easy to hate, but and I think another part of it was when he got cancer, like Americans didn't care about cycling. Like, unless you were a cycling enthusiast, but as, like, a national sport, nobody cared about it.
Yeah.
But he became this, like, underdog American guy to root for because he came back. And I didn't realize how bad his cancer was. Like, it metastasized into his lungs, into his brain. Like, he was very close to dying.
That's crazy.
I thought it was just, like, they had to remove his testicle, and then that was it. But
Lance Armstrong is a huge figure. Like,
yeah.
He's known around the world. Like, he's super for a cyclist. What other cyclists do you know? Nobody. Him. That's
I know a lot now.
Well, yeah, well, sure. But before.
But no,
that,
I mean,
Lance Armstrong is it.
Yeah, it's crazy. So part 2 is next Sunday, which I'm very excited. So this is going to get to like post cancer, because he was having a lot of trouble getting sponsorships, and the only entity or place that would sponsor him was the U.S. Postal Service. So you had all these other guys being sponsored by like Motorola and all these huge companies, but no one wanted to sponsor him. And his deal with the U.S. Postal Service was he would get paid based on how he placed in the race. So he had a set salary, but then if he came in like the top 5, he would get like a huge bonus. Or if he won a stage of the Tour de France. So he ended up making so much money based off that sponsorship. And then that, like the federal government sued him for $100 million once he came out that he was doping, because they said he like willingly took money from them while knowing he was like breaking the rules. So they get into that next week too, which is going to be pretty interesting.
Jesus.
So that's my documentary corner for the week. And then I finished The Looming Tower. So it turns out Jeff Daniels' character was a real guy. And I don't, like, there's no part of it that would make sense as to why they included all the sex that he had in the show. Because he's a real guy. He was, like, FBI agent for, like, 20-something years. He was forced out. And in, like, early 2001, he took a job as the head of security at the World Trade Center. And he like died on 9/11 trying to like get people out of the buildings. But what I don't like, even if this was like a well-known thing of this guy that he was like, you know, had all these girlfriends, why was it included in the show? I just can't get past it. Like it just didn't need to, like, this guy who was this hero who like served his country for 20 years, then transitioned at the worst possible time to becoming head of security at the World Trade Center. And, like, his main character trait was that he has all these girlfriends that he has sex with.
Well, they're just doing interviews for it, and they're, like, asking people, like, what was he like? Well, he was having sex all the time.
The time.
Constantly having sex.
But, yeah, so his character was Richard Clark. If you ever, like, look him up, super, super interesting guy. Didn't find anything about the sexcapades, but...
Gotta make it interesting.
Really interesting guy and an American hero. I mean, you know, he served his country and then unfortunately, you know, passed away on 9/11. But that I would definitely recommend The Looming Tower if you're into that time period of just like, you know, it's like a cat and mouse game between the FBI, the CIA, and Al Qaeda, and that whole thing from like the early 90s to it ends on 9/11. Like that's the final episode. I also finished Run, the HBO show. Extremely disappointed. Very disappointed in the ending. It was only 7 episodes, and it ended. I don't know. I was very, very upset with it. So, anyone out there who's thinking of trying Run, I would not recommend it. Got 2 thumbs down, which sucks. It wasted some really good acting performances. And then finally finished MasterChef season 3, and the blind woman, Christine Ha, won. I don't know how she did it. It's insane. She won, like, fair and square.
I don't believe it.
This season was cool. This was the first season where once they got to like the top 6, they had everyone, like the previous 6 people who were eliminated came back and had like a cook-off, and you could earn your way back. And one of those guys ended up being the runner-up. So he was eliminated earlier in the competition. So this guy. So it's the final was this blind woman, Christine, and then this guy, Josh, who's 7'2". He's huge, like this huge, gigantic guy.
He's a chef?
Yeah, he was awesome, like a fantastic chef. But she ended up winning, which is mind-blowing to me. Which I think once they got to like the top 8 or 6, there was no team competitions anymore. It was just like you had to cook the best dish. And she was always a really strong cook. She just, obviously being blind, had disadvantages doing certain competitions and stuff. But once it just got to straight up cooking, she was awesome. And she just like had no bad dishes. I mean, she just always nailed it, because she, like, a lot of them they'll taste as they go along. And she had her handler there to just kind of tell her, like, if she had something in the oven or she was cooking something on the stove, she could tell just by like what color it needed to be, like how well it was cooked. And
how was your
presentation? Always
presentation?
nailed it. Unbelievable.
Really?
Yeah, that part I don't understand, because you can't like teach that. You don't have a feel for that. So I don't know. Maybe she could help with that.
If I was blind and I was cooking, I'd be like whipping up spaghetti, and then I'd go to pour it in the plate and just dump it on the ground. Here you go, everybody.
So she goes by like clock. So there'll be like 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock. So when she's plating, she'll do like something at like 5 o'clock, something at 6 o'clock.
I mean, you've been talking about this for 4 weeks. I have to go look at a clip now because I can't take it insane now because I don't even know if this show actually exists.
Her name's Christine Ha, H-A.
Okay.
And she won. She won season 3. So now we're going to be starting season 4 soon, and I don't know. We'll see what glorious thing season 4 brings.
Maybe they'll ask her back.
Or it's someone with arms for hands.
In arms for hands. That's wonderful, though.
Yeah.
So I've been seeing this floating around Twitter and the internet worlds. So Chuck E. Cheese has been doing business under a pseudonym for their deliveries. Did you guys see this?
I did.
They're calling. So if this person figured this out they went on their like one of their delivery app of choice, looking for pizza, and this place Pasqually's Pizza and Wings comes up. So they order from it because that sounds delicious, and it ends up just being Chuck E. Cheese. Just being Chuck E. Cheese pizza. So I posed the question to you guys. What other restaurants could change their name on delivery apps to make it sound more appetizing? I have a couple, and I'll go right straight out with it. Number 1, you could go with Gidget's Taqueria. Do you know which restaurant that would be?
Taco Bell?
That is correct. Gidget is the chalupa. Not chalupa. The Chihuahua.
Oh, chalupa.
Gidget. The chalupa, yes. I have chalupa on the brains. I think that's a good one. I also think maybe Wendy's should switch it up. I feel like that they should make Wendy more mature. Call it Diane's Burgers and Fries.
All right.
Diane's Burgers and Fries, and then maybe circle back around to another pizza joint. Little Caesars should just all burn themselves to the ground and just call it a day because I'm done with Little Caesars. There's not been one time I've gone to Little Caesars, and I think I've talked about this before. Not one time, and I go too many times. I think I go just to make myself angry. Every time I go in there, there's never a pizza ready. Never. And
really?
the pizza, never.
What about the vending machines they have commercials for?
Listen, here's the thing. I'm not going to order a Little Caesars pizza ahead of time. You want to know why? Because if I really felt that good about myself, I wouldn't be eating Little Caesars pizza, and I wouldn't be ordering it ahead of time. I'd be ordering something better ahead of time. So if I want Little Caesars, it's because I'm driving by Little Caesars, and I'm like, fuck yeah, I'll go get a pizza. Never.
Ready.
I always have to wait.
The whole thing by myself in the car.
I want to, every time I go in there, I just want to be like, how long is this going to take? I'll go to Papa Gino's across the street. Please just fucking tell me.
See, that would be one I think that could change, and it could really, class it up.
What could you call it? Caesar's Palace?
No, Papa Gino's.
Oh, Papa Gino's.
So you could do it like Ambergino's or Louis, whatever, because Gino's just short for a long Italian name. So do Ambergino's Brick Oven Pizza, and then you probably just get Papa Gino's pizza.
Yeah. I always thought that Papa Gino should probably lose the Papa at this point because anything Papa related that has to do with pizza has bad vibes right now.
It reminds me of Pizza Sweat.
Papa John is not doing well, so maybe Papa Gino should just shy away.
I was thinking too when you posed this question in the doc of Corona, Corona with the coronavirus and everything. But you know what? I hope it's not taking a hit. As soon as the first sunny day came out, I've drank. In the past 2 weeks, I probably had 60 Coronas.
Yeah,
it's just sunny weather makes me want Corona, and I don't think that's going to change.
I don't think that's going to change. That's tough. I mean, I don't know what that would be comparable to, but it's not. I mean, maybe at the beginning of the virus, they're like, "Oh, Corona, that's a bad look for Corona." But really, people are not idiots. It's not. This virus isn't caused by the beer. But
and they can't expect that their numbers are going to the summer season is there must be their peak. You know what I mean?
Oh, definitely. That and when a new Fast and Furious movie comes out.
That's true, yes.
So that's it with the Chuck E. Cheese thing. I just thought that's funny. Honestly, people are offended. Personally, Chuck E. Cheese pizza is definitely not the greatest pizza, but you could get a lot worse. And,
And also, if you're getting it from someplace you've never heard of, then it's not like you have these high standards. Yeah, it's not like Pasqually's is known for its gourmet pizza. You're just taking a shot in the dark at a place that's close to you.
Yeah, 100%. So, I don't know. And you know what? Don't hate on Chuck E. Cheese. They tricked you. They got you to order their pizza.
Right.
This is on you. And just to clear it up too, Pasqually is he's the drummer in Chuck E. Cheese's band.
Yes.
He's the Italian drummer in the band. So that's
Really?
that's who Pasqually is. Yes. It's so good. It's so good. It's so funny.
See? That's clever.
Oh. Okay. I'm going to touch on this quick, but did you guys see this story about Call Her Daddy and Barstool Sports?
So I saw it. I don't follow the drama that goes on.
I do.
But, I don't know.
Let me take you on a ride. Just so everybody's on the same page here. Call Her Daddy is a podcast brought to you by Barstool Sports. They own the IP, Call Her Daddy. Call Her Daddy up until about 2 months ago was Alex Cooper and Sophia Franklin. These two girls, women who came on and they blew up their podcast with Barstool Sports. It was doing millions of downloads. It was constantly in the top 3 podcasts on iTunes, and it was just doing super well for itself. Then all of a sudden, the podcast goes away. The girls stop recording. It's a weekly show. It stops happening. The Call Her Daddy girls come out and say that they have stuff they want to talk about with the fans. They call it Daddy Gang. They can't really talk about it right now, but they will soon. And then before they have a chance to really address the fans, Prez comes out, Dave Portnoy, and he kind of addressed what's been going on. Essentially, what's been going on is they were trying to renegotiate their contracts, or also they were trying to leave Barstool Sports. They had this guy who happens to be Sophia's boyfriend, who is an exec at HBO. He was shopping around their podcast to other companies to get them a better deal. They were halfway through a 3-year deal with Barstool Sports. And Barstool Sports, even at the end of the 3 years, still owns the IP. So they can't really shop that shit anywhere. It's Barstool only. So all this shit starts to happen and whatnot. And I guess the whole deal was that Sophia was more wanting to leave, and Alex, so she says, wanted to stay with Barstool. Then finally, Prez is like, okay, listen, we're losing they were losing, Dave said, $100,000 that they weren't doing. Every episode they didn't do, they were losing $100,000 for advertisers. Wow. So they were like, he's like, listen, we just need to get this back on. I will take off 6 months off your contracts, which means they could be done in a year with Barstool, and they would get the IP, which he talked to a bunch of other people at Barstool. That's something that doesn't happen in that type of world. Like, when you sign away your IP, you don't get it back. It's not something that happens. So, and they didn't take the deal for them. And they didn't take the deal. No. This was a deal that Prez put on the table. They didn't take the deal. They both went away, and then ended up coming out that Sophia kind of still wanted to get more for her podcast, and she still wanted to be off and not with Barstool. And Alex fucking turned around real quick and went right back to Barstool and was like, I'll absolutely take that deal. So right now, the show is coming back on, but it's only one girl. It's only Alex. She's the only one doing it right now. The funny thing about the whole story is that Prez, Dave Portnoy, while they were off not doing the podcast, because he owns the RSS feed, he could post and talk on it. So the day, and this just happens to be, this is just a crazy coincidence, the day that Joe Rogan announces that he's going exclusively to Spotify, Dave drops a 30-minute episode on the Call Her Daddy feed explaining what's going on, basically roasting the two girls and the guy who tried to pull them away from Barstool. And that podcast ended up making it to #1, the episode and the show, and just eclipsing Joe Rogan. So the day that Joe Rogan was just, announced that he's going to be making $130 million a year with Spotify, all the outlets reporting on it have to announce that he's #2 on the rankings because of that one episode that Dave put out that day, just because the fans were clamoring to have any kind of episode, and they didn't know it was going to be him. They thought it was going to be the girls. And so everybody fucking clicked in to listen, and it just ended up being him.
Joe Rogan's making $130 million a year?
$130 a year. Listen,
what?
I was talking to somebody today about it. So anyway, that's the Call Her Daddy stuff. We can comment on it or not. But $130 a year, $130 million a year. And I was talking to someone today. Half of the episodes for this coming year, he probably already has in the can recorded, done.
Oh, yeah.
So he records them on top of each other, and so that's done. And he gets to keep his YouTube videos, so they stay on YouTube. And also, Spotify is going to host videos. So, like, Spotify is going to start having videos on their service just because of Joe Rogan. And that's going to open up a whole nother, can of worms with other podcasts and things like that. But they're really heavily investing in podcasts by going after the biggest fish in the pond.
Wow.
Joe Rogan.
Second biggest,
right? I think they dropped back down since then. But their new episode of, like, it's Call Her Daddy still, but it's like #single father. And so it's just Alex Cooper. The new episode drops tomorrow. I'm interested to see what it's going to be like and what kind of like audience retention they have since they've been not posting. But I just thought the whole thing was very interesting, and I thought it was like you have to be like essentially that girl's boyfriend, the one who works for HBO, like fucked Sophia out of all this money because he was like feeding her bad information. So like they were like jokingly calling him like the Yoko Ono of podcasts, like fucking just like fucking breaking them up.
Is he Suit Man?
That's the guy. Yes, so he is Suit Man. They refer. I don't listen to the podcast because I can't fucking get through an episode. It just makes me uncomfortable, and like the pitch of their voices just goes straight through me. So Sophia's boyfriend is this guy Peter Nelson. He works for HBO, and they call him Suit Man on the podcast. And I guess also yesterday, Prez put out one of the. And I know Ryan, you don't like Prez, but I think you should watch this anyway. Scooter Braun. Do you guys know about who Scooter Braun is?
Yeah, I don't like him either. I like him less than I like
Scooter
Braun's
a complete scumbag. Like screwed Taylor Swift over just as boys with Bieber. Total scumbag. I guess Peter Nelson is boys with him, and in an attempt to try to smooth things over, he told Scooter Braun to call Prez to see if he could because Sophia wanted her 50% of Call Her Daddy back, and Prez was like no, and he explained everything to him on the phone, and he had no idea what was actually going on, and he went back and he deleted his tweets trying to defend Sophia and stuff to Prez, but Prez put out this video that is just hilarious. He it was basically he's like, I don't care who calls, I don't care if the president of the United States called me, nothing changes. He goes, oh, Scooter Braun called. Scooter Braun, you have to fucking watch it. It's so funny the way he talks about it. But that's about it with that. I just thought it was a super interesting story about.
It was all over. It was all over the internet. That's for sure.
It's the number one. It's close to being the number one podcast in the world. Week to week, and I just find it interesting because I think that now because podcasts have been slowly growing over the last decade, and now we're in a position where we're seeing people like Call Her Daddy and Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan, probably the first big move. I would say that Joe Rogan's move to specifically be on Spotify for that amount of money is reminiscent of Howard Stern leaving terrestrial radio to sign with Sirius when he did that for whatever was it, $50 million a year, at that time to sign with Sirius, which was, or was it 500 million? I don't know, whatever it was, his contract. It was huge. And that it reminds me of that. And now I think if you, keep your eyes and ears open, you're going to start seeing a lot more people picking spots to be on. There's not going to be any more. You can find our podcasts on every podcast services around the globe. It's going to be, you can find us exclusively on Spotify. There's going to be lines in the sand all over the place. And I think that the Call Her Daddy thing, definitely, because they're going to be gone in a year. And then also with Joe Rogan, picking places to go. There's going to be exclusive homes for podcasts. And then eventually there'll be paywalls. And you'll have to pay for all your podcasts, just like we're paying for all our shit with Netflix. It's just like Netflix. It's going to be a fucking paywall, everything. So
I added this late. I wanted to just talk about it for a minute. The Tenet trailer, Christopher Nolan's new movie came out. I watched the trailer. Any movie this guy makes, I'm gonna go see it. He's such a good director. He doesn't make bad movies. I watched the trailer. And I had no idea what was happening. So that means it's probably going to be awesome. But I just wanted to see if you guys had any thoughts on it.
I haven't seen the new trailer. I saw the first trailer they did. Because it's happening in different times, right?
It's like they're manipulating time and going in reverse, but they're moving forward. I don't understand it from the trailer. But I'm just going to go, I'm not going to watch another trailer. I'm just going to go see it and enjoy the hell out of it.
I think no matter how many trailers we see of it, we're not going to understand it until we see the actual movie, just like any of it.
Right.
Because he holds a lot back from the trailer.
Yeah. So, but no, very excited about that, definitely. Want to get into movie club now?
Yeah, that'll bring us right to another Christopher Nolan movie.
That is right, Interstellar. Now, Ryan.
Interstellar.
Yes. Ryan,
Yes,
explain to us, you did not like, or
Correct.
maybe you still don't. You don't like Interstellar.
I do like Interstellar.
Okay, tell us why.
Now you like Interstellar.
So the first, I watched it twice, and the first time in theaters I was extremely high, like extremely, and I from the word go, as soon as the dust started coming, I just didn't know what was going on. I couldn't like get my bearings as to what was happening, and then the rest of the movie just like I was lost. And, especially when they kept then they have that kind of pretty immediate jump forward. I guess technically it's not a time jump, but they go from McConaughey's kids are little, and then all of a sudden they've been there 23 years or something like that.
Right.
And then Jessica Chastain is adult Murph, and they go from him listening to her recording to her on Earth. And then I couldn't follow along with it. And then Matt Damon shows up, and I was like, I couldn't do it. So then when I watched it the second time, same thing. I was too high again, which is odd because I really don't smoke that much. But it just so happened to, happen again. But now I sat down last Tuesday or Wednesday.
Did you get high?
I didn't get high. Just watched it normally,
Okay.
like a normal boy. And I thoroughly enjoyed it, which I had a feeling I was going to, but I didn't remember until the books started coming off the shelf early in the movie. And it's just like everything came flooding back to me. I'm like, because I remember when I was watching it the first time, I'm like, what the fuck? Like, I can't.
It's happening.
I just couldn't get back to zero to where I could try to start understanding.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's why I didn't like it, because I just couldn't pay attention to it. But yes, I do very much enjoy it. It was a fantastic movie, and I love every single actor that comes in. I am a fan of. So, and Christopher Nolan's he's just amazing at taking you for a ride and pulling you in one direction only to pull the rug out from under you. And yeah, he did an excellent job with this movie.
Ryan, let's go around, because we're both, now that all three of us are enthusiasts of this movie, let's go around and give our favorite scenes and why. I'd like to hear what scene really stuck with you.
Favorite scene,
or favorite scene or sequence. It doesn't have to be a long thing, or what really stuck with you. I mean, I know that I was flabbergasted when fucking Matt Damon popped out of the little sleep pod. Flabbergasted.
Yeah, when he finally turns heel,
it was him.
Yeah, definitely knew it was bad news for sure.
And even knowing they foreshadow it so well, where he's very resistant to them rebooting his robot. And
yes,
I think when he breaks bad, I think that that was probably my favorite scene, just because these McConaughey, especially McConaughey and Anne Hathaway, and then the other guy. I mean, they just had gotten such shitty news about. Michael Caine's character knew the whole time that he was, and McConaughey unknowingly left his children there to suffocate and die on Earth. And it's just they needed something to go right. And then, it turns out that he's a bad guy, pretty bad guy too. That whole sequence, I think, from Murph, recording the message to tell him that, her dad passed away, to them finding out that there was no plan A, to McConaughey being a bad guy. That whole sequence to me was pretty spectacular.
Yeah. Basically when it it's a 20-25 minute stretch from when Matt Damon rips the comm off of McConaughey's helmet and throws it down the mountain, and they start fighting until he redocks the scout ship back onto the base, is heart in your throat. That's, and then at the end too, it's a perfect line at the end. So Anne Hathaway wakes back up after being knocked out by spinning at, I can't even imagine what type of rate. And she wakes back up and she's like, holy shit, we're still alive? And they dock and he slows it all down and McConaughey goes, all right, for our next trick. It's like the perfect mood lightener, you know what I mean? It's like the perfect, now we can breathe moment. But like that whole sequence, like seeing that in IMAX, like is one of the best movie experiences I've ever been in.
Yeah, I totally agree. That whole sequence is fit from the score to the visuals. Everything is perfect. That is definitely my favorite scene of the movie. For sure.
It's like 3 movies in one.
It really is.
It really is.
Yeah.
It really is.
What was yours, Matt?
No, it was that. It was the redock. I mean, specific, like what Gavin said, like him ripping the comm off to them finishing docking the ship. It's definitely that whole like him after Matt Damon fucks up and he gets blown to smithereens. Matt McConaughey redocking the ship was fucking incredible. It's so tense and so suspenseful. They do such a good. I know what happens, but every time it's one of those movies. Every time I watch it, I'm like, is he gonna fucking do it this time? Yes, he is.
Yep.
Fuck it. It's just so good. So I'm glad that you came around to it, Ryan. I'm glad you weren't high this time watching it.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely is something. And even watching it sober, I'm like, all right, come on, focus, like, pay attention, because there's a lot going on. So if you're not 100% tuned in, you definitely I could see why you get lost pretty easily. Yeah.
Adam, we talked a lot about Man of Steel last week and a little bit at the top of the show this week about it. So we'll keep it brief. But what jumps out at you? What is important about Man of Steel, this Superman movie, as opposed to any other Superman movie that there's ever been?
What's important about this Superman movie is like I like going back and watching it. I can't understand how it got a bad rap because it is such a good interpretation of Superman, like his whole story from when he is born until he puts the S on his chest is done like in the first third of the movie, and it's like such a massive character growth, and it's so well done, jumping back and forth in time. I love that part of the movie. And then, he finds out, he's not alone, and you get to see Michael Shannon's Zod early in the movie, but he comes back, and it's like he is the best DCEU villain, and like we talked about it on the on our short episode, like. He stacks up with other villains, even in the Marvel universe, as far as being such a good character and a good villain. So I mean, I can't say enough good things about this movie. I was very, very happy. I watched it again with Zack Snyder's commentary. Not just for the amazing news at the end, but to hear his thought process and putting little things in the movie, and why this was done, why that was done. I thought that was all really interesting, and it brought a deeper meaning to Man of Steel than just it's Superman, here he comes.
Yeah, I'm gonna relate it to, and this is gonna sound strange, but bear with me here. I'm gonna relate it to the way that Spider-Man: Homecoming was also handled.
Okay.
It was Superman is a story that's been told a bunch of times in animated and in live action. So has Spider-Man. You know what I mean? I think that it's such a terrific jumping off point for the character of Superman, like you were saying. And they're able to cover so much ground. You go from everything, like you literally go from Krypton to him fighting Zod, which is a huge character in Superman's world. You get all of that and everything in between. And not only that, but it's the springboard for what was supposed to be, and we could talk about that forever, the springboard that was supposed to be the rest of this whole like arc through Justice League 3. And it's so well done. The writing is so good. The deeper meaning behind all of it, and like it's all about choices we were talking about. It's choices and all the choices that Clark has to make, including killing Zod, which is literally the last person of his kind. We think as of right now that he knows of. This is the last person of his kind, Zod, and he is forced to make the hard decision to protect the humans and kill Zod. It's tremendous. I just can't. It might be my favorite. I love Batman v Superman. Every time I watch Man of Steel, I love it even more. I love it even more.
Yeah. and also like Zack Snyder talked about it on his his live stream. The score in that movie is so good. It's Hans Zimmer.
That's what it is?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so he talks about how simple like the Superman cue is. It's just 2 keys, but like it prompts you. It's like, like here comes Superman, like here comes a moment. It's such a good cue. And all it is 2 keys, and it's perfect. Like he said that when Hans Zimmer played it for Zack and Debbie Snyder, like boom, that's it. That's the one. And those 2 keys like really set the tone for what he wanted for his arc.
The score for Superman is terrific, and I think that's something that's as good as Marvel is with their movies. I think that's something that's missing in Marvel. I thought the Avengers theme was good, but other than that, like when I hear Wonder Woman's, when I hear Aquaman's, when I hear Superman's, when I hear Batman's, you know exactly who it is. It reminds me of the kind of stuff that John Williams did for Star Wars. You know the characters when you hear their cue. Yeah, I thought it was fantastically done. It's a great movie.
So for Marvel, like first of all, the Wonder Woman score is amazing. The Wonder Woman score is awesome.
Yeah. The guitar, the electric guitar is so fucking cool.
And but as far as Marvel goes, like the you're right, the Avengers score is awesome, and like you can't go wrong with Spider-Man. You know what I mean?
True. Yeah.
That's very recognizable. But after that, like, I really couldn't tell you what Iron Man's is. I couldn't tell you what Captain America's is, and I'm a huge fan of those movies and characters.
Yeah. Yep. Very good. But Ryan, you haven't seen any of those Man of Steel? Oh, you did see Man of Steel?
Yeah, I saw it when it first came out. I watched it again. I rented it on Amazon. I was going to say, like, the score is just, it really grabs you. Like, I didn't know if it was Hans Zimmer or not, but it's just so that is what really stuck out to me, especially in, like, a superhero film. And then just kind of, like, the violence, like, for Superman, really grabs you. It like, and I don't know where Zod is on, like, the Nemesis level for Superman, like, how high up the chain he is. But it almost reminded me of like a Batman Begins combined with The Dark Knight. Just with like, you're getting into the grittiness of this superhero that you know very well. But then you're also getting like what seems to be a very high level villain at the same time. Mm-hmm. So it's like they combine those first two where like you need to see Superman in a different light. It's not like all... flying around and saving the girl and, minimal damage to buildings and stuff. Yeah. It's just like punching you in the face, which I thought was really cool. And Zack Snyder did a great job with it.
It's definitely a great jumping off villain because he's in this scenario, it works that he's so much like Superman, and it really ties into the beginning, like his origins on Krypton and his race and choosing between, is he going to be Superman and protect the Earth, or is he gonna, revert back and join his, his own kind?
Right.
And then like I saw this tweet one time. It's about a line that Michael Shannon has in the movie, and somebody like tweeted out the clip of a line. And he goes, Michael Shannon absolutely bodied this line, and he goes, "I was bred to be a warrior, Cal, molded into it. Where did you train? On a farm?" Like it's so good. Train my whole life. Where did you train? That line is so good.
After seeing I've seen a lot of Michael Shannon movies. After seeing his body of work, I would not have guessed that he would have been into playing General Zod. But like you said, he fucking killed it. He obviously killed it. But it makes no sense. I don't think we deserved him in that role, honestly. It's like truly.
No.
And they said they were so lucky to have him, and he's such a nice guy out of character. But on Debbie Snyder said on they had their kids and stuff on the set, and he's like scary on because he's so in the zone and so in character throughout the whole filming process. But when he turns it off, he's a really nice nice funny guy.
That's
but being around him on set was super intense with him as Zod.
Very scary guy. Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. So Ryan, you got a choice for us to watch this week?
Yeah, so I saw this guy Alan Sepinwall. He does mostly TV reviews for Rolling Stone magazine. and he tweeted out this movie 2018. It's like a Hulu original. It's called Hearts Beat Loud. It's with Nick Offerman. So it's like it's a musical comedy, but musical in the sense of like Nick Offerman plays like a musician, or he's like a musical engineer, and he like helps his daughter like follow her dream of trying to become like a singer. And it just the guy said it's like a really lovely, like upbeat, like great soundtrack movie. So I figure I can't imagine any of us have seen it.
No.
So I thought check that out. It's Nick Offerman, Ted Danson. It's like a pretty good supporting cast. So figure switch it up a little bit. Hulu original.
Hulu original. So that'll be it for next week. Nice.
Yeah, Hearts Beat Loud.
Do you guys have anything else you want to add?
That's all I got. That's all I got for this week.
Good episode.
That's it. A lot of words.
You can find this on if you're listening to it on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. You can find us on youtube.com/theaveragenobodies. If you're watching us on YouTube, then you can also find us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and a few others as well. That's going to do it for this week. We'll talk to you guys soon.
Hopefully we can announce our big signing with Spotify next week.
How many millions? Negative
We'll
2 million.
We'll split the 100/30.
Okay.
I mean, give them a deal.
I'd be fine with that. Yeah, absolutely. And they can have the IP all day. They can have it.
All the IPs, whatever they want.
All right, guys. Talk to you soon.
All right.
See ya.